This is the story of the San Antone Hose. It's a familiar one. Many of us fighting San Antonio's Vista Ridge water grab recall Governor Rick Perry's high-handed plan for a quarter-mile wide superhighway stretching from the Mexican border to Oklahoma. The Trans-Texas Corridor would have transformed Central Texas into one continuous chain of cities, a megalopolis like California's LA to San Diego megaregion. The vision of one huge city merging all of Central Texas has never died. Now it's being resurrected by the Texas Growth Lobby, developers, builders, engineering firms, and the banks that finance them. The vision is alive and well. At their 2015 annual Growth Summit, the mayors of Austin and San Antonio said that they've been meeting every 8 weeks with a commitment to developing one metropolitan region between the two cities. Megalopolis, here we come. Austin Mayor Steve Adler said that Austin was enjoying the fruits of being the fastest growing metropolitan area in the country, with the second place contender 30% behind. Maybe the mayor hadn't heard the news that the city of Austin is the most economically segregated city in America. Or the news that Austin's black population hasn't enjoyed having to flee the city's high cost of living, and that renters don't feel so good about the doubling of rents every 5 years. San Antonio Mayor Ivy Taylor rightfully tooted her horn about San Antonio's past water conservation efforts, but what she left out was telling. Her city council rushed a $3.4 billion 30-year contract for water to aid development in dry areas outside their city and over the sensitive zones of the Edwards Aquifer, San Antonio's own drinking water supply. San Antonio ratepayers are set to pay an average of up to 52% rate hikes over the next 5 years, largely due to one project called Vista Ridge. Here's the rest of the story. Water is the pivotal need for growth along the I-35 corridor. Vista Ridge, a public-private partnership of Austin-based Blue Water Systems, Spain-based Abengoa, and the city of San Antonio, is the ambitious beginning of their new Trans-Texas Water Highway. These are the water pipelines that are currently built or on the drawing board to handle this supposedly inevitable explosive population growth. The proposed 54 to 60-inch Vista Ridge pipeline is shown here in yellow. The Vista Ridge 142-mile water pipeline, if built, will move enough water to the I-35 corridor between Austin and San Antonio to serve 162,000 families for the next 30 years. That's 50,000 acre-feet of groundwater per year, or 44 million gallons a day. It will come from the Simsboro formation of the Carrizo-Wilcox Aquifer under Burleson, Milam, Lee, and Bastrop counties. Groundwater districts are the preferred method of regulating groundwater production in Texas. But the Post Oak Savannah Groundwater Conservation District for Milam and Burleson counties interprets its mission to grant mega permits to all applicants. Post Oak issued permits years ago to Blue Water for more than enough water to fulfill the Vista Ridge contract, earning millions of dollars in permit fees along the way. The Lost Pines Groundwater Conservation District in Lee and Bastrop counties regulates the same aquifer. Lost Pines has a history of conservative permitting, but has begun to buckle under political pressure and multiple lawsuits by water marketers. The good news is that residents and landowners from Lee, Bastrop, Milam, and Burleson are extending hands across the same aquifer to challenge no less than 3 massive permit demands. Vista Ridge for 50,000 acre-feet of groundwater per year, NDOP LP for 46,000 acre-feet, and Four Star Real Estate Group for 45,000 acre-feet. The Brazos Valley Groundwater Conservation District also regulates the same aquifer in Brazos and Robertson counties where the aquifer is already heavily pumped, mostly to serve Bryan College Station. Area citizens have joined a statewide petition drive to the governor and state and local officials. Hays Countyans, focused at the moment on their own local water wars, have not yet sufficiently grasped that they are in the crosshairs of all these ill-conceived and destructive projects. The only problem with Abengoa as the financial partner is Abengoa's own finances. Its junk bond credit rating in 2014, when the contract was signed, has not improved. Its total debt has skyrocketed 790% in the last 2 years. A 522-page Vista Ridge contract was released in draft form on September 22, 2014. On October 8th, and again on October 30th, San Antonio Water System CEO Robert Puente addressed the San Antonio City Council at only 2 public hearings. Repeated calls to slow down by San Antonio residents and affected landowners who came from miles away fell on deaf ears. The now 724-page contract was executed on November 4, 2014, with the clear message: the fix was in for Vista Ridge. Highly respected San Antonio attorney Amy Hardberger has a strong background in water markets and sustainable business models. Hardberger, a professor of law at St. Mary's Law School and board member of the Greater Edwards Aquifer Alliance, had this to say to the San Antonio City Council about the rushed deal.
To my knowledge, this is one of, if not the most expensive contract this council or any council before it has ever voted on. I think this warrants more than just 1 month of review. Discussion of the larger city budget is germane here for several reasons. First, if the city commits to this contract, they will be responsible for paying for it. SAWS has a proposed rate increase to cover the contract costs. However, based on SAWS's own presentations, we may not need this water unless we are in extreme drought, and even then, maybe not for many years. This water, by SAWS's own statements, is so that the city can avoid stages 3 and 4 drought restrictions maybe sometime in the future. Regardless of your philosophical stance on drought restrictions, the numbers must add up for this to be a good project. Drought is temporary, but this project will mean the delivery of far more water than we need under normal conditions, and a bill we will always need to pay.
So far, the San Antonio Council has ignored the protests of its own ratepayers about impending large rate hikes to pay for Vista Ridge. That does not include rate hikes expected for desalination and other water projects widely supported in San Antonio. In its September 2014 article, A Tale of Two Water Districts, the Texas Tribune wrote that Gary Westbrook, the Post Oak District's general manager, stated that his district has rules that allow it to cut back pumping allowances. The Tribune also quoted Westbrook as saying, "The best thing I could say is our permits are contingent." Yet the Vista Ridge partners have given assurances to the San Antonio City Council that there will be no interruptions in water delivery. Milam County landowner Dr. Curtis Chubb holds a doctorate from Johns Hopkins University and is a retired tenured faculty member at the University of Texas Southwestern Medical Center at Dallas. He's published more than 1,000 articles about groundwater in Texas. Dr. Chubb's data, obtained through open records requests to the Post Oak District, clearly shows that the slow recharge Simsboro aquifer is already at risk. The blue bar represents permitted water in the Post Oak District. It dwarfs the green bar of recharge. Former Edwards Aquifer Authority board member and respected San Antonio hydrologist George Rice released a disturbing report on October 1, 2015. Rice used the state's own computer model to predict these drops in water levels and pressure in the Simsboro due to Vista Ridge pumping by the year 2060. The map does not take into account other pumping already underway in Burleson County, nor the drawdowns that would occur if the permits for 91,000 acre-feet per year for NDOP and 4-Star are granted in the Lost Pines. Groundwater districts must regulate groundwater production so as not to exceed their desired future conditions, or DFC. DFCs are set periodically by each district as the maximum acceptable drawdowns over 50-year periods. This table from Rice's report illustrates that Vista Ridge pumping, added to baseline pumping, will result in average Simsboro drawdowns by 2060 that exceed the DFCs in both districts. Table 3 also does not take into account the potential effects of an additional 91,000 acre-feet of pumping in Lost Pines. According to an August 2006 Express News investigative article, Scott Carlson, the president of Brenham-based Metropolitan Water Company, pled guilty in 2002 for theft of $2.4 million from 2 oil and gas firms. While still on probation, Carlson was reported to have gone door to door in Burleson and Milam counties, offering a check on the spot to landowners who would lease their water rights. He later went to jail in Houston for violating his probation. The newspaper reported a friend of Carlson's paid his $500,000 bond. That friend was Ross Cummings, the managing partner of Blue Water Systems LP. Cummings told the Express News that posting Carlson's bond money was part of a very detailed business transaction in which Cummings obtained the leases. At least some of these leases now support the Vista Ridge permits. Bruce Brinkman and his mother, a Burleson County landowner, were approached by Scott Carlson, who knocked on Mrs. Brinkman's door in 2009 with a check in one hand and a lease in the other. Brinkman told us the story we've heard too many times, that Carlson suggested that his company would get their water anyway, since their neighbors had signed. Mrs. Brinkman declined. San Antonio Water Systems CEO Robert Puente has repeatedly stated, and watch the word game here, that over 3,400 leases with landowners, 85,000 acres, proves Burleson County's support. However, our investigation discovered landowners, including corporate owners, who signed multiple leases. Only about 1,800 actual landowners signed leases. As few as 1 to 2.5% of the combined populations of Burleson and Milam counties, covering less than 4.5% of the two counties' combined acreage, are likely to receive a penny in royalties from Vista Ridge. Abengoa must secure the path for the 142-mile pipeline from Burleson County. It must travel not only across public lands, but also an estimated 479 private parcels of land in 7 counties: Burleson, Lee, Bastrop, Caldwell, Guadalupe, Comal, and Bear. For-profit Abengoa has formed the nonprofit Central Texas Regional Water Supply Corporation, which does have the power of eminent domain to condemn private property for pipeline easements. Landowners, fed up with the abuse of eminent domain for private gain, are organizing across the pipeline. This video clip of the fight on the Texas Senate floor the night before the end of the session in June 2015 was all about Vista Ridge. It was an amendment that no one had ever seen before, with the sole purpose of making it easier for Abengoa to get financing for Vista Ridge. It was pulled for lack of support from senators in both parties and from rural and urban Texas.
This is not just a continuation of Texas water politics, but this is the future of Texas water politics. This is, at the end of the session, maneuvering that has not thoroughly been vetted through the legislative process. Senator Eltife, Senator Nichols, Senator Creighton, how would you like this bill to be one which allowed for the interbasin transfer from East Texas to West Texas? Or Senator Seliger, how would you like this to be a bill that allowed for the transportation of water from the Ogallala Aquifer to Dallas-Fort Worth? This is not right to be passing this late in the session. Furthermore, It impedes and upheaves is upheaval of the local control issue that Senator Frazier spoke so eloquently about.
It's no fiction that over 100 years ago, California bowed to the demands of the real estate lobby, directing its vast water resources to Southern California, fueling explosive population growth in areas without their own water supply. The California Water Wars inspired the movie Chinatown, though we recommend the book Cadillac Desert, The American West and Its Disappearing Water, a non-fictional account. 1/4 of the nation's food supply is grown in California's Central Valley, where farming is now in deep trouble due to the loss of reliable groundwater supplies.
Something you call love, but confess you've been messing where you shouldn't be a messing, and now someone else is getting all your best.